We're just two different people going through the same challenges. We're both emerging from the shadows of a broken heart, and just as the picture, perfect image I'd always wanted to create was ready to take shape, the shadowy, negative side of my character started to fill the room like smoke. After being together for about 3 years in a committed relationship, my ex-boyfriend and I both had the same expectation that we would remain together permanently. I had confided in him with all of my heart, and I trusted him completely. However, things started to change, and I became aware that there was something wrong with the situation. When he suddenly ended our relationship one day, it was completely out of the blue, and it was as if the entire world had collapsed on top of me. I was shocked beyond belief, my heart was shattered, and I was certain that I would never be able to love another person again. I was in tremendous pain, and for several weeks I wept myself to sleep each and every night. Despite everything, I was not willing to give up on love. I was aware that I deserved to be loved, and I made a solemn promise to myself that my heart would never again be shattered. I slowly started to pick up the pieces of my shattered heart and begin the process of healing. I started paying more attention to myself and started engaging in activities that brought me joy. I went to new places, engaged in new activities, and made new friends. When I was in this place and at this time, I met my current spouse, and it seemed like fate. We immediately hit it off with each other, and I had the impression that he was someone special. It was just another ordinary day, and I had stopped by my to coffee shop to grab my daily dose of caffeine. I had no notion that fate had something particularly exciting in store for me on that particular day. During the time that I was standing in line, I saw a tall and handsome man enter the building. My attention was immediately drawn to him, and I found that I couldn't tear my eyes away from him. To my utter amazement, he walked up to me and offered his greetings before leaving. He had a warm personality, exuded self-assurance, and had a charming grin. When we first started chatting to one another, it seemed like we had known each other for a very long time. As we continued to converse, I became aware that we shared a lot of common ground. We enjoyed many of the same activities and pastimes, and even had a similar to coffee drink in common. That day, it appeared like it was destined for us to meet, and I couldn't help but be thankful that we happened to run into one another by chance. The last thing he did was ask for my phone number, which I willingly gave to him before he left. As he stepped back, I could feel butterflies in my stomach, and I got the distinct impression that an exceptional event was going to take place. During the following days, we spent time together talking and getting to know one another better. The first time we went out together turned out to be a success in every way. We shared some laughs and good conversation, and we clicked from the bat. We appeared to have known one another for a very long time, and the thought that we were destined to be together kept running through my head. I knew right once that he was unlike anyone else I'd ever been across in my life. He was considerate and thoughtful, and he never failed to go the extra mile to ensure that I felt like an important part of his life. It seemed as though he was always thinking of me, and every action, no matter how seemingly insignificant it may have been, was a demonstration of his love for me. In spite of the prior heartbreak he had experienced, he was anxious to give love a second chance, and the fact that he had chosen me made me feel incredibly honored. I could tell that his past relationships had left him with enormous wounds, yet he never let those experiences influence the way he behaved towards me in any way. Instead, he invested his whole being in our connection, and it was clear from everything that he did that this was incredibly important to him. He treated me as though I were the most important person on the entire earth, and I loved every minute of it. He was there for me whenever I required his assistance, whether it was to provide an ear to listen or a shoulder to cry on. After witnessing his tolerance, understanding, and unwavering support, I came to the conclusion that I had stumbled onto a priceless diamond in the person. He continued to display his care for me in ways that I had never witnessed before. He never stopped going out of his way to make me happy, surprised me with thoughtful presents, and bringing me on charming dates. It appeared as though he was constantly looking for new ways to demonstrate to me how much he cherished me. In spite of the challenges we faced along the way, his undying love for me never wavered. He was there for me whenever I was feeling down, and he never gave up on us despite how difficult things were. The unwavering, selfless, and unadulterated nature of his love gave me the impression that I was the luckiest person on the face of the earth. As we continued to see one another, our love story developed, and we found that the more time that passed, the more in love we became. He showed consideration for me and put me ahead of anything else. I had no doubt that he was the one I would spend the rest of my life with, and I treasured every moment we spent together. I am grateful that fate led me to that coffee shop, because it is where I met the person I will spend the rest of my life with. It was just like something out of a fairy tale, and I can vividly remember the day as if it had happened only yesterday. That day marked the beginning of our love story, and I will always be thankful for the time that we have been able to share together. As our love grew stronger, we both realized that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives with one another. It was a seamless progression for us to move on to talking about getting married. The possibility of us spending the rest of our lives together filled us with elation and excitement beyond measure. We started a conversation about our future plans, such as the kind of wedding we wanted, the location we wanted to call home, and the way we wanted to build our lives together as a couple. We both had the same idea of what a happy and fulfilling life should be like, and that's how we knew we were meant to be together. During the process of planning our wedding, we found ourselves in an exciting moment. Our wedding was a labor of love, and we put many hours into preparing every detail, from the location and guest list to the menu and centerpieces. We shared the same goal of having everything go smoothly, and we were both dedicated to making that happen. We devoted a number of months to examining each and every facet of the preparations to guarantee that everything will be flawless. We put a lot of heart and effort into it, and we had a lot of fun working together on it. As we progressed farther in our planning, our excitement about the future we shared grew. As the day of our wedding approached, we were both experiencing a mixture of excitement and nervousness. We knew it would be a day that we would never forget, so we wanted everything to be perfect on such an important occasion. Our love for one another did not waver for a moment, not even in the face of the challenges we faced during the planning process. We both had the same goal in mind, which was to make our wedding day a manifestation of the love that we have for one another, and we both couldn't wait to start our lives together as a married couple. It seemed as though everything was running smoothly, and we were both confident that God had us together for a reason. We held a positive outlook on the years to come and were confident that with one another, everything was attainable. My private life and my professional life have always been kept completely separate from one another, for a very excellent reason. My lover was not aware of a secret that I had been keeping from him. I had a career as a stripper in the past. It had been my means of subsistence for a good many years at that point. I was petrified of what he would think, and I didn't want to risk losing him, so I kept the information to myself. I was so in love with him that the thought of living without him was intolerable. Despite the fact that I knew it was wrong to keep it a secret from him, I did it anyway. It was impossible for me to imagine living my life without him, because he was everything I could have wished for in a friend or companion. It seems like only yesterday when I think back on that night. My boyfriend let me know that he was going to a bachelorette party for a friend, and he also told me that I had been invited to a party where I would perform as a stripper. I didn't give it much thought, and I didn't anticipate anything out of the ordinary happening. I had a lot of confidence in him, and I knew that he wouldn't intentionally do anything to hurt me. I was completely taken aback when I saw him walk into such a seedy gathering. When I got to the event, I did not find anyone who resembled him, nor did I come across someone who looked like him. I had no notion that he had taped me or that he had a number of videos that show various inappropriate features of me because I was too focused on my work to notice that he had gone to use the restroom right as I walked in. I had no idea that he had recorded me. The night was spent with me putting on a show for the gentleman who had come to watch me perform. I was completely unaware that my significant other was even present at the same party, let alone what was going on in the room next door. The first time my boyfriend talked to me was after I'd already finished my performance. I was clueless as to the source of his irate demeanor. When I asked him about it, he replied that he had seen me in the other room with the other guys. I was completely shocked and left in utter disbelief. I couldn't believe he'd seen me in that state, and I was at a loss for words because I had no idea what to say. I tried to explain that it was just my work and that I had not done anything wrong, but he refused to listen to me or even acknowledge my existence. He felt as though he had been completely misled, which caused him to become furious and hurt. I'd never seen him look so dejected before, and I immediately realized that our connection would never be the same again. Looking back, I realized that I should have been more honest with him right from the beginning. It would have been better if I'd explained to him what it is that I do for a job and my profession. It's possible that he wouldn't have been as shocked and hurt by what he saw at the party if he hadn't been there. But the damage was already done, and there was no way to undo what had been done at this point. After the conclusion of our love affair, I was left with nothing but regret and despair. I attempted to get in touch with him so that I could explain myself, but he declined our conversation. He'd already made up his mind, and our relationship came to an abrupt end as a result. I was utterly heartbroken and couldn't believe that everything had been lost. Even going so far as to wreak revenge is not enough for him. Before I saw the videos and images he shared on Twitter, I had no idea what had occurred or how far he had progressed. I couldn't believe it, and it devastated my heart. I don't understand how he could have treated me like this. How could he put me down like that in front of everyone on the entire planet? It was a terrible situation. I'd become disoriented and was unable to find my way back. The emotional trauma that I foolishly believed I had just averted is staring me in the face once more. And this time it hurts more since I am the one who inflicted it on myself. If it were up to me, I would have given it to him straight away. But despite the fact that I feel bad that I kept that hidden from him, I think what he did was unethical. The posting of those videos and images on Twitter was insensitive and completely unnecessary. It was his way of tormenting me, exacting punishment, and causing me to endure the consequences of my error.